In a quiet laboratory in Rochester, New York, an engineer at Kodak built a machine that could have protected the company from its own future. It was bulky, slow, and almost ridiculous to look at, but it did something historic. It captured a photograph without film. Kodak had invented the digital camera. Then, for years, the company treated that invention less like a breakthrough than like a threat. To understand why one of the most powerful names in photography lost the era it helped create, you have to begin with the business Kodak was trying to defend. For most of the 20th century, Eastman Kodak was not merely a camera company. It was one of the great consumer monopolies of habit. Its genius was not just that it sold cameras, it sold memory itself, packaged in a way ordinary people could use. George Eastman had simplified photography in the late 19th century with a promise that became part of business history. The customer pressed the button and Kodak did the rest. That idea turned photography from a specialist craft into a mass consumer ritual. Birthdays, holidays, weddings, children, vacations, all moved through the same system. Buy a camera, buy film, take pictures, send the roll away or bring it to a store, pay for processing, receive prints, then buy more film and begin again. The camera was important, but the real engine was the roll of film and the chemical processing behind it. Kodak's strength came from repetition. Every memory created another purchase. By the post-war decades, Kodak had built a vast empire around that loop. Manufacturing plants, research labs, distribution networks, photo processing services, and a brand that was almost synonymous with photography itself. The company made enormous profits from color film, especially in the consumer market. Its products sat in drawers, suitcases, drugstores, supermarkets, and camera bags across the world. For millions of families, photography was not a technology category, it was Kodak. That is what made the invention inside Kodak's own lab so dangerous. In 1975, a young electrical engineer named Stephen Sasson was working with new imaging components, including a charge-coupled device, or CCD, a sensor that could convert light into electronic signals. Using off-the-shelf parts, a lens from a movie camera, digital circuitry, and a cassette recorder for storage, Sasson assembled a prototype unlike any camera Kodak sold. It weighed several pounds. It recorded a black and white image at extremely low resolution by modern standards. Capturing one picture took about 23 seconds. To view it, the data had to be played back through a separate device onto a television screen. It was not a consumer product. It was a laboratory experiment. But the principle was unmistakable. Photography could be separated from film. For a company whose wealth depended on film, that principle was both brilliant and alarming. Sasson later described showing the prototype internally and receiving interest, but also skepticism. The questions that mattered were not only technical. How would people view these pictures? Where would they store them? Why would anyone want to see images on a television instead of holding a print? And most importantly, what would this do to Kodak's film business? Those questions were not irrational. In 1975, the world did not have personal computers in every home, broadband, internet, smartphones, cloud storage, or social media. A digital camera needed an ecosystem that barely existed. Kodak's executives could reasonably see the prototype as early, crude, and far from the mainstream. But the deeper problem was that Kodak was being asked to imagine a world in which its most profitable product became less necessary. Great companies often fail, not because they cannot see the future at all, but because the future first appears in a form that looks financially inferior to the present. Digital photography, at the beginning, was worse than film by almost every consumer measure. It had poor resolution, awkward storage, no easy printing path, and no familiar retail experience. Film was beautiful, profitable, reliable, and deeply embedded in daily life. Inside Kodak, digital was not ignored in the literal sense. The company researched it, patented important technologies, and invested in electronic imaging. Kodak scientists and engineers were not asleep. The company was one of the most sophisticated imaging organizations in the world. It worked on sensors, scanners, printers, and professional digital systems. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Kodak helped create digital camera systems for professional photographers, including equipment built around Nikon film camera bodies. It later launched consumer digital cameras and the EasyShare line, which briefly became popular. The common myth is that Kodak simply invented the digital camera and then locked it away. The more revealing truth is subtler. Kodak developed pieces of the future while trying to preserve the economics of the past. That tension shaped almost every decision. Film did not just bring revenue, it brought extraordinary margins, especially when combined with processing and printing. Digital cameras threatened to break the recurring purchase cycle. A customer who bought a digital camera might take hundreds of pictures without buying a single roll of film. They might view images on a screen, delete the bad ones, and print only a few. The old model had charged people for uncertainty. Every roll included surprises, mistakes, duplicates, and moments that only revealed themselves after processing. Digital removed much of that uncertainty. It gave the customer control before the purchase of prints. For consumers, that was liberation. For Kodak, it was cannibalization. Companies can survive cannibalization when they choose to attack their own business before someone else does. But that requires leadership to reward the new business even when it damages the old one. Kodak's structure made that difficult. The film's business was the core, the profit center, and the cultural identity of the company. Managers were trained by decades of success to protect it. Sales channels, factories, chemistry, retail relationships, and internal prestige all orbited around film. Digital imaging, by contrast, often looked like a lower margin, electronics-driven market, where Kodak would face competitors with different skills. Japanese camera makers, consumer electronics companies, computer companies, and eventually phone manufacturers. The danger was not only technological, it was organizational. Kodak was built for a world where pictures became physical objects. Digital photography moved pictures into software. In the 1980s, Kodak did see the shift coming. Internal research reportedly projected that digital photography could become important over a period of years, with consumer adoption taking time. The company had warnings, it had engineers, it had patents, it had a famous brand, it had retail access. And yet, the business logic of film kept pulling it back. One revealing effort was photo CD, introduced in the early 1990s. Kodak imagined a bridge between analog and digital. Consumers could shoot film, then have images scanned onto compact discs for viewing on computers or televisions. It was technologically ambitious, but it still protected the film processing chain. It asked the future to pass through the old system. That was Kodak's dilemma in miniature. Instead of making film unnecessary, it tried to make film the gateway to digital. For a time, that seemed sensible. Most households still used film. Digital cameras were expensive. Computers were not yet universal. The internet was young, but bridges can become traps when the land on the other side is changing, faster than the company crossing it. As the 1990s progressed, digital sensors improved. Memory became cheaper. Computers spread through homes and image editing became easier. Consumers began to accept the trade-off. Digital pictures did not have to be perfect if they were instant, free to retake and easy to share. Photography's value was shifting from the print to the moment of capture and distribution. Kodak still had advantages, but it was no longer defining the rules. Its brand meant photography. Its profit model meant film. Those two facts were starting to conflict. In 1996, Kodak was still an industrial giant. Yet beneath the surface, the film market was nearing its peak. The decline did not happen overnight. Film remained significant for years, and many professionals continued to value it. But the direction was increasingly clear. The more digital cameras improved, the more the old consumption cycle weakened. A family no longer needed to buy multiple rolls for a vacation. A teenager no longer had to pay to see every image. A parent could take 20 photos of the same moment and keep only one. Each behavior seemed small. Together they dismantled the economic foundation Kodak had spent a century building. Kodak did respond. It sold digital cameras. invested in online photo services, and pushed home printing. But many of these moves came with a burden. The company was trying to replace a high-margin chemical business with lower-margin hardware and services in fiercely competitive markets. Digital cameras quickly became products where prices fell, features changed rapidly, and manufacturing efficiency mattered enormously. Kodak could sell millions of devices and still struggle to recreate the profit pool that film had provided. In the old world, a camera purchase began a long relationship. In the new world, a camera purchase was often a one-time electronics sale, followed by storage on a computer and eventually sharing online. Then came the next blow. The digital camera itself was not the final form of digital photography. The smartphone was. Once cameras became standard inside mobile phones, the market shifted again. Photography merged with communication. The best camera became the one already in your pocket, connected instantly to the internet. This was not a world shaped by film companies. It was shaped by software platforms, mobile hardware makers, and social networks. Kodak had spent years wrestling with how to move from chemicals to electronics. The industry moved from electronics to networks. The company was chasing a future that kept receding. Kodak's decline was not caused by one meeting, one executive, or one rejected prototype. That version is too simple. The real story is more unsettling because it is more common. Kodak had the invention. It had the brand. It had technical talent. It had time. What it did not have was a business model that allowed the future to win internally before the present had fully lost externally. Every year that film remained profitable made delay easier to justify. Every improvement in digital threatened the economics of the core. Every executive faced the same uncomfortable choice: accelerate a technology that would shrink the company's most valuable business, or defend that business while competitors learned the new rules. Kodak often chose the second path, even while funding parts of the first. By the time the economics became undeniable, the market had moved from a Kodak-shaped world to one where Kodak was just another player. In January 2012, Eastman Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company that had once taught the world how to preserve memories had become a cautionary memory itself. It later emerged from bankruptcy as a smaller company focused on commercial printing and imaging technologies, far from the consumer dominance it once enjoyed. The patents and research that once signaled technological leadership could not, by themselves, save a culture and business model built around a fading profit engine. Kodak's digital camera prototype is now often treated as an artifact of irony. The future sitting in the hands of the company least prepared to embrace it. But the lesson is not that Kodak failed to recognize digital photography. It recognized enough to be afraid of it and enough to try to contain it. The deeper failure was an inability to let the invention become more important than the business it threatened. In the end, Kodak did not bury digital photography in the sense of making it disappear. The company buried it under assumptions that prints would remain central, that film could serve as the bridge, that brand power could survive a change in behavior, that the future would arrive slowly enough for the old model to adapt. But digital photography did not just change the camera, it changed the meaning of a photograph. A picture was no longer mainly a printed keepsake. It became data, communication, identity, evidence, conversation. Kodak had built an empire around capturing memories after the fact. The digital world wanted images instantly, endlessly, and everywhere. The company that invented the first digital camera had glimpsed that world before almost anyone else. Its tragedy was that it saw the future through the lens of the past.